A warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's session. In this webinar, we will discuss, are you sticking with Oracle EBS? However, SplashBI has your reporting and analytics covered. My name is Aashna Anand, and I am an HCM Solutions Consultant at Insan Technologies and your host for this webinar. Today, we have with us Graham and Rishabh from SplashBI. Graham is the Sales Director for EMEA at SplashBI. He has worked in the field of business intelligence and reporting solutions since 1980 and within the Oracle community since 1991. He served as the director of the UK Oracle user group for 5 years and has written white papers and presented at many conferences and trade shows. On the other hand, Rishabh Miglani is a SplashBI solution account manager. He has extensive experience in working with customers to resolve their reporting and analytics needs for Oracle applications. Rishabh has also worked with several big data projects in the past and has helped many customers put in place reporting and analytics strategies based on industry recommended best practices. I will pass it on over to Graham now for an introduction to SplashBI.
Thank you very much, Aashna. Good morning, everybody, wherever you are around the world. Good afternoon, maybe good evening for some even. So let me give you a little bit of an introduction to SplashBI. The company was founded in 2001, and we have, since our creation, specialized in delivering reporting and analytics solutions, originally just for Oracle, but since 2014, 2015 across other technologies as well. We have locations in the US where our headquarters are in Atlanta, the UK where Rishabh and I are at the moment, which is a very wet and not very sunny Brighton on the south coast, and India where our support and development is based. We have close on 400 customers globally now, 250 plus employees, and our solutions are deployed across 60 or more than 60 industries. Our solutions are all based on our own proprietary BI platform, SplashBI. It's very similar look and feel to Power BI, slightly different to Tableau, but everything that you could do in Power BI, Tableau, Click, Domo, products like that, you can do in SplashBI as a platform. So we can actually sell SplashBI as a separate platform for people to develop their own solutions in. But having specialized in delivering reporting solutions for so long, Gartner recommended that the way for us to distinguish ourselves from the other BI platforms was to develop solutions that come pre-packaged out of the box. And we have 8, as you can see on the screen. We're going to talk mostly about SplashEBS and SplashLD today. SplashEBS is our solution that comes with pre-packaged reports for Oracle Business Suite, and SplashLD is our legacy data solution, allowing you to bring data together across any ERP, any application, and any database for legacy data reporting. In our previous webinar, we spoke about SplashDM, which is our Discover and Migration utility for people using Discover against EBS or Oracle database. And in our next webinar, we will briefly touch on SplashGL, but we will talk about SplashOC, which is our equivalent of SplashEBS, but for the new Oracle Cloud applications. And we also have SQL Connect that will allow you to take SQL Developer and Toad functionality and use it across the cloud environment. And then we have 2 very much data and technology agnostic solutions, SplashHR and SplashCRM, which are for people and sales and marketing analytics. Going back to SplashGL, there will be a 4th webinar in a few weeks' time, which will talk about how you can use SplashGL for financial reporting against EBS and against Oracle Cloud as well. Thank you, Aashna.
Thank you, Graham. I'll move on to a quick introduction to Insan. Insan Technologies is a boutique HR technology company with headquarters in Dubai and offices across GCC. We provide solutions in 4 areas within HR technology domain, which includes operational HR, strategic HR management, talent acquisition, and learning and development. And Insan represents many of the leading and innovative global HR technology vendors in the region. Datacraft brings in best-of-class data and advanced analytics platforms to help organizations derive deeper insights from complex data sources. We have been doing this for the past 5 years with over 100 projects. Datacraft helps organizations manage their entire data and analytics lifecycle from integration, storage, migration management to business intelligence, and by harnessing the power of machine learning and AI, and eventually bringing in value and insights to the business. So the agenda for today would obviously be introductions, and we would also tell you why we are here. And Graham and Rishabh will take you through the journey with Oracle EBS so far, which is a reporting and with a reporting and analytics perspective. Also, what customers are staying with EBS and customers moving away from EBS, and then eventually we'll have a question and answer round. So we look forward to this session, and just before we start off, we will be recording this session and we'll share it with you post the webinar. Please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel during the session. Now, without further ado, I will turn the time over to Graham and Rishabh. Over to you.
Thank you, Aashna. So why are we here? Why have we asked you to attend this webinar? Those of you, and I guess most of you that are on the call, are here because you are still using Oracle eBusiness Suite. A couple of years ago, or 3 years ago now, Oracle announced their continuous innovation release model for eBusiness Suite 12.2. Basically, delivering ongoing applications and a technology stack update for 12.2 without requiring any major upgrade. So 12.2 is the last major upgrade that you will get with Oracle eBusiness Suite. And if you haven't embarked upon it yet, and you want to stick with 12.2, you seriously need to consider, because 12.1 support, Premier support, finishes in December of this year. And to get a 12.2 upgrade done in the next 4 months is going to be extremely difficult. Obviously, you can get extended support through Oracle ACS, but it's quite expensive. But basically, this means that Premier support for 12.2 is guaranteed now 10 years plus one into the future, every time they make a release. So for 2032, you're guaranteed Premier support if you upgrade to 12.2. That's the background to why we've invited you. And what do we hope you will learn from the session? So we're hoping to present a roadmap of what organizations like your own are doing globally for reporting and analytics, whether they decide to stay with EBS or whether they decide to move away from EBS, because obviously that is always an option to go to cloud or to even go to something non-Oracle. Thank you, Rishabh.
Yeah, I'm just launching the poll.
Interesting results there. So quite only one person, 8% moving away from Oracle, and then roughly 50-50 staying with EBS and moving to Oracle Cloud. Quite interesting considering the context of the webinar. Thank you, Aashna. Okay, so what should you expect from your ERP? What should your solution and your vendor provide you with? In terms of functional business requirements, and I won't go through them all, you can see them there on the table, and this applies to everybody: Oracle, Workday, Salesforce, anybody else, Unit 4. There's a list of functional and business requirements, a list of technical necessities that we believe an ERP provider should ensure that you have. I'll give you a few examples. So we have a local government customer here in the UK where they did a 12.1 to 12.2 upgrade. They did discover a migration to SplashBI for all their reports, but at the same time, they saw this as an opportunity to support additional lines of their business and implemented advanced collections. We have another customer in the music industry that have been using Oracle eBusiness Suite for many, many years and decided after migrating their reports and starting to use SplashBI as their reporting solution to actually adopt Oracle Accounts Receivable. Multi-org architecture, we are one of our biggest and longest serving customers here in the UK. The University of Oxford has multiple general ledgers, spanning across many, many, many different areas of their business. And in terms of an enhanced UI for EBS 12, there's a lot more API support, allowing customers to make it much more interactive. Rishabh, is there anything you would like to add to what I've just said?
Definitely, Graham. I mean, that's so much into the aspect of what an ERP should provide, because essentially for an organization, it's the core source of data that they have. It's for their day-to-day functioning. So I think these are some basic necessities that ERP providers should definitely, provide as a part of their overall functioning.
Okay, thank you. Can we move to the next slide, please? So a brief look at the journey with Oracle, a reporting perspective, not going back to the early 90s, but starting from 2001 when EBS 11i was first released. And most people then were using Discoverer for their reporting. And Discoverer gave everybody everything that they really wanted. It was self-service, it was real-time, it was on demand. Users could do everything they wanted to do with it. And in my view, big mistake Oracle have made since 2014 is not replacing Discoverer. And since people have moved to 12.1, you have to start mitigating the associated risks of continuing to use Discoverer that had gone into sustaining support. There was more need for organizations to do cross-application reporting, the ability to bring payroll and financials and HCM and sales and marketing data together to do better analytics, more need to build integrations. And of course, during this period, customers are going through all their digital transformations between 2012 and 2021. And then people wanted more agile reporting and more automated insights. Power BI, products like that coming around, which is fine. But then the issue with using a totally agnostic, let's say, platform for reporting is that it doesn't necessarily understand things like security, doesn't understand how EBS is structured, wouldn't understand things like descriptive flex fields. And then we moved to EBS 12.2. People wanted to make strategic analytics decisions for better decision making, and then also the option of moving to cloud. And all of this is at the same time as now, instead of just being able to use Oracle Discoverer, yep, you have the enterprise command centers in EBS, and you have OTBI within Oracle Cloud, and you have the ability to use Oracle Analytics Server and Oracle Analytics Cloud. But there's a big gap between what they can offer. That's a separate webinar that you can find on the Oracle Video Hub that we did jointly with Oracle a couple of years ago now, where Oracle themselves explain there is a huge gap in their reporting offering now. That's just to set the tone from a reporting perspective. Back to you, I believe now, Rishabh.
So Graham, what is going to happen with the customers who are going to, decide to stay with Oracle EBS? I think these are a couple of questions that everyone's got in mind, and would really want to understand, your perspective of it. So what is the impact that you think it's going to happen with the 12.2 EBS upgrade?
Okay, so it depends on what you're using eBusiness Suite for. If you're using eBusiness Suite for Oracle HCM, then you might not see as major an impact on the reporting as you would do if you're using financials and general ledger, for example. In 12.2, the GL tables have been completely rewritten. The structure of GL is totally different, and any reports that you have that work in any solution in 12.1, even in our own SplashBI solution, we've seen it ourselves. Customers that were using 12.1 for SplashBI and have moved to 12.2, a lot of their reports, the custom reports that they have built, need transformation. They need work done on them. And the same with SCM. It will definitely cause disruption with reporting needed for business continuity. We've spoken about University of Oxford already. They currently have 3 SplashBI solutions in use. They are reporting against EBS 11i, EBS 12.1 and EBS 12.2 simultaneously. And you know, that's taken them the best part of a year to get all of that in place. So there is always a delay. When we did the migration of Discoverer for the local government council that we were talking about earlier in 12.1, there was about 10 weeks while we migrated 300 reports. That didn't stop them using Discoverer, but after that, when they switched Discoverer off and then they did the 12.2 upgrade, they had to keep 12.1 in place to be able to run their SplashBI reports while we did the upgrade to 12.2 simultaneously. Will this be a recurring cycle with every EBS upgrade? Who knows? Impossible to tell. I guess, and a lot of people say that the reason for the online patching and the reason for there not being future major upgrades is because eBusiness Suite and Oracle Cloud ERP will become closer together. If that happens, then yes, there is a good chance that if you're using still Discoverer and you continue to take the risk of running it with 12.2 or any other solution that's not been built for Oracle reporting like Power BI, Tableau, then there is a good chance that those reports will break every time an update is done. So how can you avoid that? So with our solution, if you go with eBusiness Suite /EBS, we have over 1,400 pre-built reports and dashboards across every application, every module. So within financials, we have GL, AP, AR, every module there is, HCM, payroll, supply chain, manufacturing, CRM, projects. So across every single application and every single module in those applications, we have all of those reports. And this is what SplashEBS will do for you. So it makes Oracle reporting easier. It's self-service, as was Discoverer. There are, as I said, 1,300 reports, 800 views and dashboards that are pre-built, come out of the box. It understands EBS security. It knows what a role, what a responsibility is. The dashboards are there. It works for 11i onwards. It's future-proof for Oracle Cloud Fusion. So you could go from 12.1, migrate your Discoverer workbooks, implement our own reporting solution that comes out of the box for 12.2. And then if you want to move to cloud, you move to cloud and your SplashBI reporting solution remains in place. The green ticks show you all of the functionality and features that we support within our SplashEBS connector and the data model. And at the bottom there, you can see just a few of the customers in UK and EMEA that we support that are currently using SplashEBS. Thank you, Rishabh. Here's an example of some of the reports and the dashboards coming up as Rishabh clicks through to show you the way they work. So you start out, you can deliver exactly what your users may have been used to in previous versions of EBS using Discoverer, through to having real analytics, multiple drill down, all manner of reporting and analytical goodies. Thank you. Right.
Great.
So I'm going to ask you these questions, I believe now, Rishabh. So
Yes,
if we move away as a customer from eBusiness Suite, we move to Oracle Cloud and make our eBusiness Suite a legacy solution, or we move to a new ERP, do we need to move all of our data?
No, to be honest, it's not needed as such. So you need to move maybe some crucial aspects, your employee information, so that you have a smooth takeover from one system to the other. But at the same time, it's not necessary to begin with your overall legacy information that you are keeping from more of an auditing perspective, or answering more questions if certain things come up, or from a legal compliance point of view. You can still keep all of that data in your Oracle EBS database and not having to move it to your new ERP application, whether it's Oracle Cloud or whether it's a different ERP altogether.
Okay, so if I'm keeping it in my EBS database, does that mean I have to continue to pay Oracle support for keeping my data on premise in that database?
No, so you do not have to pay Oracle support for keeping all of your data. You can still keep your data in the Oracle database and take out the application layer for EBS. The support cost, therefore, is then minimized from that overall aspect, because you own the database license and you keep the data on your on-premise systems itself.
Okay. And is there a cost-effective alternative for archiving and legacy data reporting?
That's the answer to the question. So in the next slides, what I'll be covering is SplashLD, which is again powered by SplashBI. As Prem said, again, a solution for customers who are moving away from Oracle EBS. And this is what the focus of our solution has been. And what we want to basically understand from a user perspective is how to minimize the overall cost that is associated with this digital transformation project that you might be taking in terms of upgrading from one version to the other, or at the same time moving from one ERP application to the other. Your legacy data is definitely needed from an overall perspective of reporting and as well as legal compliance. Whereas on the same side, when we talk about advanced use cases, you can always consider the historical data having so much meaningful insights that you need to constantly go in and figure out some patterns based on your past, organizational efficiency as such. What will SplashLD do for your legacy data? The first is reduce the data conversion complexity. So if we think about it, let's say a customer is moving in from Oracle EBS to Oracle Cloud. Those particular projects span from somewhere between 6 months to a year, or even we've seen certain projects going beyond 3 years as such. And the reason for that happening is there's a lot of complexities in terms of converting the data from one particular format to be stored into a different ERP application. And the idea is to design the new system based on the best practices that you've seen over the years, and not the historical data that you had actually captured. So it's trying to move away from the overall, I would say, tricks that were done in the previous system to make sure the business process is followed, to more get aligned with the best practices as such. And by no means this is an idea of saying that we should not do all sort of custom fields. You should definitely do it, but not be dependent on the historical data or the way it was being captured in the past. One of the big return on investments is reducing the implementation cost for the overall project. We see that overall, if a project's going to take probably a few months, there's a big chunk of time that's basically being used of converting that entire data from one particular place to the other. It's always best to keep that legacy data in hand, and at the same time being able to start from scratch from a particular point of view. One of the other benefits that I would see in that particular aspect is that it can pick up data from any system. And the idea for SplashLD is to make sure that there is least amount of maintenance that you'll have to do on that system, because that system's not going to be transactional in nature. You're not going to be entering any more new data as such. It's only a read-only view in terms of getting your data out and making sure that you are understanding or figuring out the analytics that's already there in that particular one. Our motive of actually designing SplashLD and the data mart, which I'm going to showcase in the next slide, is to make sure that business users simply get access to all their historical data as and when needed, with the help of out-of-box reports and dashboards that we give for all the applications that are mentioned on the slide as well. On the next slide, it's a quick representation of what our legacy solution architecture looks like. So our idea is to move everything from that legacy system, put it into a generic data mart, which is all automated, and you don't necessarily have to work around the aspects of the schemas that were there in that particular system, and make it more business understandable. So if a functional HR user wants to query certain, pay slips that were there, or maybe generate that payslip, they can easily use the SplashBI front end to actually produce those formatted reports. Even similar for finance, what if I want to basically bring up an income statement or some past reconciliation reports? You can easily do that directly from within SplashBI, dependent on that data model that you see in the middle of the screen, which is more generic and at the same time allows you to cross mash up the data with the new ERP application also. That's again one of the big questions that comes across. Can I then basically put together the data from my legacy application to the new ERP that I've moved on to? And the answer is yes. With SplashBI's overall capability, you'll be able to do that as such. Could we have the next poll question, please, Aashna?
Yeah, sure.
Now, in this particular question, we would like to understand from the audience what you believe is probably the best solution for you at this stage, whether it's SplashEBS. So if you're staying with Oracle EBS, would you like to understand more about the reporting analytics perspective for 12.2 onwards, or even older versions that you might have? And SplashLD, on the other hand, if you're moving to other applications, would legacy be one of the most aspects of it? And at the same time, you've got a third option. You don't know it at the moment, and you would like to understand more in detail. Very interesting results. So there are certain aspects, the majority lining towards SplashEBS, and there are around 22% attendees who don't know and would like to chat more in detail, which is understandable. We've seen so many complex situations during that digital transformation with our customers that we understand it is sort of a plug and play when you want to understand which solution will fit in at what stage of your transformation journey for the organization.
I'd like to ask the audience a couple of extra questions, if I can, there, having seen the answer to that.
Sure.
If you're all prepared to, could you put the answer to these questions in the chat for us, please? So if you are using EBS, are you still using Discoverer? And what version of EBS are you still using? So are you on 12.1? Are you on 12.2? Or are you still using Discoverer? That would be quite interesting to hear. Thank you. But let's move on while we're waiting to see if anybody puts anything in the chat.
Sure, Graham. Right, so this is a build versus buy comparison, and we wanted to share this matrix with you all in terms of evaluating what sort of a reporting and analytics solution is the best fit for your organization. And we generally ask our customers to evaluate all solutions in the market based on the pointers or the data points that are pointed out on the left side, starting from customizability. And on the top, what we're trying to portray is the generic BI platforms. As I said, And as Graham also mentioned earlier, Power BI, Tableau, which are great products from a dashboarding point of view, but are they necessarily the best fit for your organization, or do they actually give you enough information related to Oracle EBS, or do they have more extra work behind them to actually bring it up to a stage where the business needs them? Prepackaged analytic applications, again, there are lots of there in the market, and you can see and evaluate them from an overall similar perspective as the generic BI platform. But at the same time, would they be allowed to do the similar ad hoc capability that you're really looking for, or the ad hoc capability that Discoverer had to begin with? We were in conversations with a lot of our customers. They still think Discoverer was a great product. It was giving everything that the business users needed. And at the moment, the users are looking to move on to a product which is providing the similar capability as well as providing more enhanced functionality. So it should not take away the overall ad hoc creation of reports, or dragging and dropping certain aspects of your Oracle EBS custom fields, and at the same time be more future proof. So our solution, our answer to that question is with a smiley face, and the reasons are outlined on the right side, wherein we start with the built-in data connectors, reducing the startup effort. The built-in data model eliminates the overall architectural effort that you might need to even develop a data mart, or at the same time having to develop a complete data warehouse to put it in a particular place that's more business understandable.
Can I ask a question there, please, Rishabh?
Sure, Graham.
So if it comes with the pre-built data model, obviously organizations need to do more than report against their ERP. And organizations nowadays are moving data into huge warehouses or huge data lakes for, lots of other analytical objectives. Is the SplashEBS data model and the SplashOC data models, can they be moved in their entirety as a database into other data warehouses and into data lakes?
Oh, yes, definitely, Graham. So that's one of the aspects of us having to provide that sort of a downstream integration. So you could essentially use SplashBI and its ability to connect and understand the security behind those Oracle ERP applications, and then merge into your enterprise data warehouses. We have seen so many customers who've spent lots and lots of time and money into preparing their enterprise data warehouse, and they would like to integrate it directly. So we have provided that sort of solution to them, and it comes with the product itself. You can easily integrate all of those things. And at the same time, Graham, when you mentioned, it's more about the architectural effort as well as the pre-built metrics that you get. So there are standard reports, standard KPIs that you need to measure on a regular basis. Whereas at the same time, if you try and do it from a generic BI platform, you'll have to develop your own ETL or do that cleansing. With SplashBI and its overall architecture and on-the-fly ETL, what happens is you get those calculations, you get that clean data automatically. So you don't have to worry about having stuck, or maybe if I add a new field into EBS, whether that's going to get actually added to my reports or not. The platform itself takes care of that particular effort that's needed.
Okay, and another question then. So carrying on from what you were saying about SplashLD, the actual application layer of eBusiness Suite is not needed for those reports and that data model to work. That can be done purely against the database, as long as the tables remain and the views remain in place.
Yes, that is correct. So SplashBI overall understands the architecture, the overall setup that you might have done to your application layer as well, and it tries to emulate it through the SplashBI front end to make sure that the security is also enabled. And the way we've understood the market, this is again coming in from a lot of requirements from our customers. We've tried to give them the overall responsibility security without the application layer, and then directly connecting to the EBS database itself.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Perfect. Just covering a couple of points on this one as such. So we are talking about updates to the content, and at the same time a lower cost of maintenance. For all our solutions, it's something that we take care of during your overall subscription contract, that you get the content at a lower cost, and you don't have to worry about the maintenance because it's an automated system, with the ETL being also automated. And of course, the last and the most important point I would say is the security. if you've already set up the security on your Oracle EBS system, or for that matter, Oracle Cloud, the solution should be able to inherit it automatically. You should not have to set it up again from scratch, because you've already spent that time and effort into setting it up from an application point of view. That reduces the overall redundancy of creating reports, which is, maybe for one particular geography, a finance manager needs to access it. And at the same time, the similar report needs to be accessed by another finance manager in geography too. But they should be able to work on the same report, and the security should be the parameter guiding the data behind it as such.
Thank you.
Could we have the third poll question, please, Aashna?
Yeah, Rishabh,
Thank you. So this is again for the audience to respond in terms of, based on the previous slide deck, in terms of whether you would want to go for, building your overall best reporting solution, or would you want to go for a pre-built solution, or you don't know at this stage.
While we're waiting for that poll answer to come through, we have a question from Riddy. And the question is, we have various DFS and KSS and EBS. Will SplashEBS be able to accommodate those in pre-built reports? Yes. So all DFS, KSS, EITs, SITs, UITs, everything that you have in EBS that is a flex field of some type can be picked up and is accommodated in the views and the reports that we produce. SplashEBS understands how they work, and yeah, they can be delivered completely. Thank you for the question, Riddy. Quite an even split there.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Thanks for the responses, audience. So this is what we basically are trying to help our customers with. And this is our, I would say, a tagline for all our Oracle customers: dream to reimagine how you operate. So we are trying to give them one particular platform which can be accessed using the web API, the web app, the mobile app, and also directly from within Excel. Whereas we talked about today in the session how you can connect your Oracle E-Business Suite and other on-premise applications. And at the same time, how SplashLD would basically help you take care of your legacy data, whether it's based in an Oracle database, or if it's an other database, or even flat files. Certain times, a lot of customers have kept their legacy information into Excel, but it's still getting tough to get that data out of it or in a presentable format. Whereas at the same time, what we want to offer our customers is a future-proof reporting platform. Therefore, we are giving them a roadmap which allows them to basically have no stress about having to think about a new product when they move to Oracle Cloud or any other cloud ERP application, because SplashBI supports all Oracle or all cloud applications in terms of getting the data and making sure reporting analytics is visible for them.
I have a question there for you, Rishabh, as well, please, if I may.
Sure, Graham.
So on the right-hand side of the screen, you're showing the data being accessed by a web app, a mobile app, and an Excel interface, I'm guessing. Are they all the same product? If you wanted to do this with Oracle, you'd have to use different products. If you want to do it with Power BI, you have to buy different bits.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is this all one and the same architecture and solution?
Yes, Graham, that is correct. So SplashBI is one platform which is again accessible through all devices, all web browsers. And as it says on the right side, you can access SplashBI through the web app or the mobile app. It's again a SplashBI app, and Excel Connect as an Excel plugin. So if you subscribe as a user to SplashBI, you will be able to access the product using all different ways of different browsers, your mobile app, whether it's Android or iOS, and even through the Excel Connect plugin. So keeping all your data directly within Excel.
And do you have to pay separately for them?
No, Graham. So it's one subscription, again, makes it available for all your products and all your devices as such. So it's only one cost.
Okay, couple of questions from Osama. Will we share the slides? Yes, the slides will be made available soon after the webinar is finished. And Osama said, especially that one.
Okay, brilliant.
So, yeah, very good. Okay. Right.
I can hand it over back to you, Aashna, if there are any other questions that we need to answer at this stage.
I think, yeah, we have one more question in the question box. If you can take that, Rishabh.
Let me see what else. Yeah, so from Miglani. So are we saying you can drop the EBS app, but keep our data in a database and still run the reports? Yes, if that's what you want to be able to do, that's plausible and easy to achieve. We have a number of customers that are already doing that now. When I said to you about University of Oxford are using EBS 11i, they've actually dropped the EBS app part. They've kept the 11i database, and they've kept the structure of the tables and any custom views that they'd added, and SplashBI is reporting against that database, and they are not paying for support of 11i at all, EBS 11i. Hope that answers that for you, Jelani.
Okay, thank you, Graham. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes. Everybody, please make sure to type your questions in the question box in the control panel, so that we can answer them one by one. And Graham and Rishabh, if there's anything you all want to touch base with while we get the questions, meanwhile.
We have another question. So would the solution allow reporting automation, scheduling, distribution? So Rishabh, do you want to answer that one?
Sure, Graham. So yes, SplashBI overall allows you to automate a lot of your reporting requests, and it's got scheduling, distribution, and at the same time, we've natively included bursting also directly within the reporting platform itself. So we have customers who are basically sending out their own overall invoices, weekly statements in a pixel perfect format to a lot of their departments and regional heads. And at the same time, from an HCM side, they are sending out their own people reports if they need to send out to different HR managers as well.
And can you password protect that?
Yes, that is correct, Graham. So it's very crucial that, you know, the financial information or any sensitive information is password protected. So SplashBI allows you to password protect those attachments and send out the password separately so that it goes only into the hands of the relevant people as such.
Okay, and if you distribute reports or data to people, do they have to be SplashBI users? Are you having to buy a license for everybody that can see the data?
No, so if you want the user to just see a static output in terms of an Excel or a PDF, they don't necessarily need to have a SplashBI license associated with it. But at the same time, we've seen a lot of customers requiring to interactively work with reports or drill down from one particular report to the other. In those cases, yes, the end user will need to have a license associated with them.
And can you distribute the data via EBS via sort of CSV files?
Oh, yes, definitely. CSV, XML, both are available from an overall downstream integration aspect. So if you want to basically ingest that report's data into another application that you've got or another, you know, system that you might be developing, you can easily do that as well.
Okay. We got another one. Is our solution on-premise or cloud deployed? Both, either, hybrid. So we have some customers that are running SplashBI on-premise against eBusiness Suite, but they might have SplashLD on cloud. We provide our own cloud service for SplashBI users. That can be against EBS, it can be against any data source, it can be against Oracle Cloud. So you have the choice, and if you want to go cloud, it can be private cloud, public cloud, your own cloud or our cloud. And we also can provide the solution on Oracle Cloud infrastructure as well. I saw another question flash up. I can't find it now.
Yeah, I'll read it out for you, Graham.
Okay.
So it says, do I still need a BI application like Click, Tableau, or Power BI?
All right. Okay. So no, you can. So we do have, we don't put ourselves forward as an enterprise BI vendor, although we do have some customers that are using SplashBI as their enterprise solution. But we have a retail customer that uses us for their financial reporting against EBS. They're starting to use our SplashHR people analytics solution, but they also want the ability to be able to take that data from our data model, from our warehouse, and put it into their data lake, where they're already using Power BI and Tableau to bring other bits of data together. And so, yeah, it's an option. We wouldn't say you don't need to have it, and if you've made a huge investment in it, then fine. You know, you might want to continue with that. Could you do it all in SplashBI? Yes, but why would you want to throw away? You know, it's like people that have used Discover. Why do they want to throw away that investment and start with something completely new? Why would, if you've spent 2 to 3 years investing in Power BI and Tableau, why would you want to throw it away to replace it with something like SplashBI? You don't necessarily. It's picking the right horse for the right course. Okay. Next question, do I need a data warehouse or a data lake? Oh, what a big question that is. Well, I guess it all depends on the size of the business, the nature of the business. If you're an organization in a single line of business, no matter how big you are, you're just operating in one industry, then it's possible that you might need a data lake, depending on how many employees you've got, how many ledgers you run, etc., to bring all of the data together. If you're a multinational organization that's got 60, 70 different industries that you cover, then yes, almost certainly you would need a data lake to be able to look at all of the data for your analysts to do the bits that they do. And that's the difference between a data analyst's job and what we're fundamentally talking about, somebody that does reporting out of an operational ERP. And people tend to confuse those. And I think that's why a lot of people have said, oh, Power BI will do everything we want. We can use Power BI for operational reporting. Seen lots of people try, and 18 months down the line come back and say, actually, we can't do that in Power BI. Can we do it a different way? So it's doing the right thing for the right type of user with the right type of data.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Graham, for answering all the questions. Thank you, Rishabh, as well. And I think we're done with all our questions. If any of you have any further questions, please feel free to email us. You can get in touch with me, Graham, or Rishabh on LinkedIn as well. And we appreciate you being here. Stay tuned for our upcoming webinar, which would be on Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. So it'll be a roadmap to reporting and analytics for Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. And thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Aashna, for your hosting. And yeah, we will be sending out slide decks to everybody.
Yes, we will be sending out slide decks, the recording, and also a few other assets for everybody. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye. Take care.